Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna check how to play with Annerose. So, before we start, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the content. Also, be sure to comment on what characters you want to see next. Before we start with Annerose, we're gonna do a quick summary about why she's such a controversial character. Because she's different. She number one, and most importantly, she's paywalled. This is why many people don't like her to begin with. You cannot get her with gems for free, so that's one thing. Another thing is that she's paywalled after being selected in a poll. So that's a thing that really pisses off people because they wanted that character, and it is treated as a collab character because she's not from the Taimanin series, she's from her own series, even though it's the same universe or whatever. But it is treated as a collab character and it's paywall after being selected by the community. So that's why she's so controversial. Besides, the pack isn't cheap. It is the same amount, I think, as one of these packs of the character packs. But if you always buy them with gems, then she's not available. That's the problem. And that's why she is very controversial. Even so, someone asked me to do a video on this character, so I'm gonna do it. I hope that I don't make anyone mad by making this video. The idea is to help everyone and see if she's worth it or not. So we're gonna start with her builds, and we're gonna start with Blue. Blue has two builds. It has another defensive build, and it can have a different kind of aggressive build for VR. She plays very differently depending on what kind of content you are tackling. If she tackles a stage with multiple enemies, she is not ideal. Multiple bosses, I mean. She's not ideal because she doesn't have super armor on her normal attacks. She only gets super armor with the basic enhancer on the last attack on her normal attacks. So that's a thing. Before we start with that, Annerose is a suppress and demon type character. Two good traits, good combination. She procs many different effects on supporters. And skills. Let's go with skills. Quick analysis. Hyakuretsu Sen. Hyakuretsu Sen, it's a hold attack during normal attacks, which rushes forward short, and performs a consecutive attack by rapidly piercing the enemy with sword strikes for 2 seconds. So as you can see, she's going to thirst the enemy constantly. Let's check the effects. With 1 green, she gains super armor while using the skill, which is very good. With 2 green, is going to perform an additional attack that knocks back the enemy at the end of the skill. I mean, it's an additional attack. That's what really matters. And with 3 green, increases critical rate by 50%. Which is kind of unnecessary. It's useful if you're using the melee supporters, but for the most part, green can already perform great has great critical chance, so it is unnecessary to do this kind of thing. So this effect is not that good. Then we have Madosen. Madosen is a hold attack that slashes enemies with enlarged blade and deals an area damage. This is very good, but only on green and blue. On red, it's kind of poor because the effect is not as impactful. So, the best one is going to be green. It says add an area attack and at the end of the skill, and restores HP by 3% of damage dealt. The restore HP part is what really matters. It's what makes this skill very useful. With 2 blue, reduces the enemy speed by 10% for 10 seconds. Though the duration is good, the percentage on the reduction is just too small in my opinion on this skill. It is a powerful skill, and Annerose has a lot of utility on all the colors in different ways, but her control on blue is very poor compared to her control on green. So we're gonna check that later. With 2 red, stuns the enemy. I mean, if you're fighting like dailies, it's okay, but only then. Yaksha Ito style. Yaksha Ito style is the basic enhancer, enhances normal attacks, and the last attack grants super armor. If it got super armor through all the basic attacks, it would be good, but only on the last attack. That's not ideal. Throughout all my gameplays with her in this day, on all the testing, I saw that she underperforms against multiple bosses or multiple enemies with super armor, because some skills require her to do her basic attack and then hold attack, during normal attacks, for example. But if you get interrupted, you're not going to do your skills or finish your basic attacks and deal damage. So that's a thing with her. With 1, supporter increases damage by 10%, with 2 increases damage by 20%, and with 3 increases the particle charge amount by 50%. Standard stuff, yes. I don't know how to say this word. Fleuteries? Rhyme axe, I guess. Well, I'm just going to say the last part, Rhymax. So with this one, you're going to order a contract demon to summon Ice Axe that deals area damage. This is one of the skills that people like the most, and I can see why, because of the big damage increase, but it is not my favorite. I prefer to go with green, but that's preference. So let's check very quickly the effects. 1 red reduces the enemy's defense by 10% for 10 seconds. Pretty strong effect in my opinion. I mean, it is an added effect on a main damage dealing attack. It's not that this is meant to debuff the enemy, it's just an extra, and it's pretty good. With 2 red, ice comes out of the axe and inflicts an additional attack. So yeah, it is pretty good. The more damage, the better. And with 3 red, increase critical damage by 250%. This is good. Very, very good. Why? Because Annerose in particular has ways to increase her critical rate, so you're going to guarantee your critical hit on this skill. So that's why it is that good. Then we have Fang Strike. This is the skill that procs on the main to activate the effects. It says that it's a dash attack and stabs the enemy with a charging attack while moving forward. With green, on the main, you're going to increase your speed by 10% for 10 seconds. With blue, increase the defense by 10% for 10 seconds. And with red, increase the damage by 10% for 10 seconds. So the weakest one is actually blue, but it's not unusable. She can go tank, actually, just so that you know. Then we have Yaksha Unbound. Yaksha Unbound is her perfect evade skill, and this one is going to give you a buff. It says Extreme Dodge activates the Witch's Sense that increases critical rate, damage, and defense for 4 seconds. Unfortunately, the duration is pretty short, So you have to have your skills ready to use or be very quick about it. Uh, if you try to abuse this with normal attacks, it's not going to work because the duration is just too short. So that's why we have to check the effects. With 2 green, the duration increases by 2 seconds. That's really what you want. But the other ones are not unusual. They are also pretty good. But the increased duration is very important on this skill. Then on 2 blue increases the defense by an additional 20%. This is good. This is good because you can use it on the defensive build, on the tanky build, and it's acceptable. And with and the thing about this is that you can use I forgot the name, but the supporter that gave you damage on buffs, because you have multiple buffs on this skill, so it is good on blue. And with red, increases critical rate by an additional 20%, which is also good, especially considering this. So you just evade and immediately use Rymax, and that's it. Then we have Darkness. Darkness is going to be a hold attack that throws a trunk in front of the conjure, to conjure a magic circle that drags enemies and deals damage over time for 4 seconds. Really, only 4 seconds? I thought it was more. And I mean, I tested it and I thought it lasted longer because it was pretty good. Maybe it's because it's an illusion because of the good utility that you get for dragging the enemies into the circle. So, with 1 blue, he's going to reduce the enemy's defense by 10% for 10 seconds. Again, nice added benefit on this skill. It is not the main appeal of the skill, it's just an extra to deal more damage. With 2 blue, increases the duration by 2 seconds. That's it. That's why I thought it lasted longer. It's because of this effect. And with 3 blue, is going to increase skill damage by 150%, which is okay. I mean, blue isn't a skill that creates a lot, so you either want critical rate or skill damage on a blue skill. And this is pretty good. Then we have Divine Wrath. Divine Wrath is going to be an evade that you do immediately after any attack, after it finishes. For example, if you're doing the basic attack, you're going to need to finish the whole combo, and then you can activate this. You can activate Divine Wrath. It's very easy to use on other skills, and this is supposed to be the launching attack, but it's not a launching attack, and that's good. If you have 1 green, it electrocutes the enemy. For those who don't know, electrocute is going to reduce the enemy's defense and also going to deal an attack when the buff disappears. Then we have add 1 more stroke of lightning, more damage I guess, and 1 red increases damage by 25%. So we don't want to use triple color on her for the most part, but you could, and you can use this skill. Then we have Devour, another excellent skill. It can deal a lot of damage, but since it's an AoE attack, it's not supposed to deal an absurd amount of damage like Rim Axe or maybe Hyakuretsu Sen. So yeah, it doesn't deal that much damage, but it deals a good amount of damage to all enemies that are in the area of effect. This procs its effects on sets of 3 colors, so that's kind of a disadvantage, but it is good enough. And it says, double evade, whips black strands reach out from the sword and restores HP by 3% of the damage dealt. Attack range increase when the skill slot is applied. So the attack range increase is actually necessary to use this skill properly. But the main appeal is actually that it's a way to restore HP. Other than Madosen. If you're not going for green, you can use this to restore your HP. With 3 green, is going to reduce the enemy speed by 30% for 10 seconds. That's why I say that green has better speed control overall, because the amount is just absurd. 30% is big. Unfortunately, Annerose doesn't have more ways to reduce speed. She's just like an extra thing to reduce speed on your control strategies for VR, for example. And if you want to rely on that, it's better to, on single content, it's better to use Devour instead of Blue Madosen. So with 3 blue is going to pull the enemies towards the character, which is not bad, especially because of darkness. And with 3 red stuns the enemies, which again, kind of the weakest. It is useful. Stun and all kind of stun, groggy, those effects are good on what's the name? On PvP. But on PvE, they are not that great unless the enemy doesn't have super armor. Or you have ways to break it easily. Then we have Grudge. What about Grudge? Grudge is a counter-attack, unfortunately. And it procs on the same command as Rymax. So you cannot use these two on the same build. Another important thing, all the effects that are bad and only red is kind of usable. The other two are okay for PvP, especially since it's a counter. So let's see. Assuming a stance to counterattack to hugely reduce incoming damage, and it is true, it does reduce damage a lot. It is pretty good. And when hit, things come out of the trunk and counterattack enemies. With 2 green, makes the enemy groggy. With 2 blue, knocks down the enemy. And with 2 red, increases skill damage by 50% by changing the thing in the trunk into an ice axe. So this is actually pretty good on this kind of stage. I always do the testing on tower 75, and that means that I am facing a bunch of enemies. If you're facing a bunch of enemies, this is an excellent skill because your Annerose gets interrupted super easily, and this doesn't get interrupted, and you deal a good amount of damage. So the first build is going to use Devour, Yakshan Bound, and Darkness. Yakshan Bound to increase damage, Devour to recover HP, and Darkness to deal damage. So this is your main damage dealing skill. This is to increase the damage from Darkness and HP recovery. And what are we going to use? Since we're using Yakshan Bound, we're going to use Kana, because she's going to give you damage based on the number of buffs. And if you want to increase the damage even further, you can use the active. Let's see. Then I have Blackbeard or Nisaki Kirara to get HP recovery and damage. And Igawa Sakuya. You don't have Blackbeard Kirara, what can you do? Depending on what you're facing, you can use always Arabella, yes. You can use the specific supporters for the corresponding trait of the enemy. You can use Heaviko. Heaviko is a good option, but look at mine, it's S1, so I cannot. Let's see, we can also use... Witsu is not bad, it is actually good, but you know, her main appeal is the debuff increase, duration increase, so we're not going to use that one. And you can use Akina, of course, to get more HP. No, you cannot use this one effectively, I mean. So yeah, those are the supporters that you want to use. Oh, and of course, Murasaki. Murasaki is always good. So let's test her out. And the weapon, very quickly. I'm going to do a mixture of builds with the red weapon, the red arena weapon, and the Kahahirako, the butterfly weapon. Why? Because some builds synergize well with this one. But these does affect the normal performance of the character. So I'm going to mix between those two, and I'm going to mention when I'm using which. Okay. So obviously anti-demon Magatamas, she's maxed out. So let's check that very quickly. There we go. So as I mentioned, the combo is going to be to do Yaksha with the Bathe. Then we use Darkness. And if we need to recover HP, we are going to do Devour. Yeah, and that's it. It is a pretty okay build, especially for stages with multiple enemies. Yeah, but because that's her main weakness. And since they are constantly being dealt damage and pulled into the hole, they will allow you to continue with your basics. Because they can get interrupted pretty easily. Oh, come on. Well. Yeah, the defense increase is pretty good on this character. There. Nice. And I didn't need to use the active of my supporter. So it is a good option. Not everyone can use Kana effectively, and fortunately Annerose is one of those supporters, of those characters who can use Kana. Now let's go with this is a special kind of red. Let me explain. So we're gonna use the butterfly weapon, which gives you speed stacks. No, it gives you speed, and it also gives critical damage. But why does it matter? Because the critical damage comes in the form of stacks, and we're gonna be using Dancer Shizuru, which increases the duration of any buff. Why do we want Dancer Shizuru? Not only for the weapon, but also because of Yaksha Bound. Yaksha Bound has a very short duration, and this is going to increase the duration even further than the green set. It's going to be, well, my Shizuru is 4 out of 5, so that's 3.5 extra seconds, which is great. It would be 2 seconds if it was S1. So do keep that in mind. Using this is excellent. We're also going to use Lydia because we're going to create with Jackson Bound. So we're going to use this to deal more damage. And we have Shirayuki just cause it's generic damage. Pretty good. And here we're going to use obviously Rymax. And we're going to use Fang Strike. Fang Strike to increase our damage. We don't need more critical or other kind of effects. So we want the damage. And which is the combo? The combo here with this specific build with Shizuru, Dancer Shizuru, is going to be first to use the Action Bound, then use Fang Strike, and lastly use Rhyme Axe. If you don't have Dancer Shizuru, the combo is Fang Strike, then Action Bound, then Rhyme Axe. Fang Strike is going to last for 10 seconds, so you have a little bit of wiggle room to do one evade and activate the Action Bound. But if you don't have, you don't want to rely on waiting while once your buff is active on a random attack for the enemy. That's why I say that we should start here with the Action Bound, because we have the wiggle room thanks to the extra duration on the buff. So let's test that out. The Rhyme Max is going to deal a huge amount of damage, so keep an eye on that. Yes, 1, 2, and shred. Yeah, I'm gonna... Oh, I already activated it. Okay. And the extended duration is super, super good with this weapon. Because you can actually, if you time it properly, it can... nice. It can last until you're able to move once the enemy appears, and you're gonna keep the stacks before the enemy appeared. From before the enemy appeared. There. Nice. Come on. The problem with her is oops, that she has very little super armor. And another advantage about this specific build, about using Dancer Shizuru, is that this build doesn't have any way of HP recovery. You're pure damage. And Dancer Shizuru allows you to revive once. Or maybe more than once if you can proc the active again. But it is very good that you have a means to not die. And also in the main slot is going to increase your speed, which synergizes with the weapon. So yeah, but we have another one that is red, like the most standard red. The supporters are almost the same, but instead of using Shizuru, we're gonna use Annerose supporter. You are bound to have at least one copy of this if you buy Annerose. It comes on her pack. And that's why I think it's even more valuable than any other character pack. It also actually comes with a supporter and a weapon, which is good. An actual supporter and weapon, which are good. And let's see. The main supporter of Annerose is going to increase the critical rate and is going to increase her HP. And has a chance to restore HP when you kill an enemy. That's a good thing about this. You have means to recover HP, but it's random. So because of that, I'm going to use Devour. I don't like to stun the enemy with Devour, but I do need the HP recovery. I'm going to keep Fang Strike because I don't need Jackson Bound because of the critical rate increase on this one. If you want something different on red that gives you critical rate, maybe you can try Prophet Eleanor. I mean, you constantly deal wet, so it's not that big of a deal that it procs on wet in the main slot. Also, you can use... I don't recommend to use this one. Yes, you can, but your main damaging skill doesn't deal melee damage. So you would use it for the active, for the two effects on the active. You can also use this one. I do not recommend. She doesn't have the amount of multi-hit here. You can use Spica. Yes, it is a good option. But which... you can use Melt, but not on this specific build. Let's see. Which is the one that I wanted? Yes, this one. Character release supporter Shizuru. It is a pretty good option because you're going to increase your critical rate, and the problem is that the damage increase, it only procs on debuffed enemies, but fortunately she does debuff the enemy with her active. So keep that in mind. Wraps enemy in binds, every decreases their speed for 5 seconds. So yeah, with both effects, I think she debuffs the enemy, so she auto procs the damage increase. So because of the critical increase, we don't need to worry too much. Wait a moment. Yes, you can use obviously Rymax, but here I'm going to use Grudge. Why am I going to use Grudge? Just to test it, just so that you can see if it's viable or not to use this. And I can tell you, it is viable, especially on this kind of stages with multiple enemies. And that's also why I'm using this, because I'm going to take hits. It synergizes well. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I'm back to the regular weapon. So Let's test this one. So the combo is going to be to increase your damage with the... I forgot the name. I don't know the name of things, you know? With this, then you wait and there. You just evade attack, hold the bait, and there we go. Pretty easy, right? And I'm not using the Devour because, I mean, right now I don't need it. It's when we have multiple bosses that I do need Devour. Okay. Yes, and now I use Devour. And now I use this. Yes. This way I'm going to constantly get HP and deal damage. Though it is risky because you don't have like too much HP recovery. You do have enough, but it depends on how much damage you can deal. Let's see. I hate Yukikaze's skills. Devour. The balls. Oh my god, I hate those electric balls. There. Good. Also, be careful on when you activate that skill, depending on the attack pattern of the enemy, especially against ranged attackers. It's a skill you don't want to use against ranged attackers, usually, because they might get a little bit of distance in between, even if you activate it. So, let's see. We have red, we have green. Yeah. Green. Oh my god, the green has a bunch of builds. It is pretty good. On this one, I'm going to use again the arena weapon, and this is the build that I like to use whenever I used to farm. We use Hyakuretsu Sen. We use Madosen for HP recovery, Hyakuretsu Sen to deal damage, and the basic enhancer, which you don't need that much, but I'm going to use it. You can use the Devour instead if you want. So yeah, for this build, we're going full crit, no surprise, all out of 5, 5 out of 5, all plus 12, plus 14, plus 13, as you can see. And yeah, there's not much to say about this. Problems. This is not the correct stage to use this kind of build. I'm going to tell you that in advance. You're going to see that I get interrupted frequently, like a lot. And it's because of the amount of enemies that we have. This is the kind of performance that you want to see. You use this build on dailies, okay? Or even a couple event stages. But if you have 3 bosses, this is not going to perform properly when they are up. I have to activate this super quick so that I can use it. Whew. Which skill do I have? Madosen. I was trying to use the Devour. Okay, there. As you can see, I get interrupted pretty frequently, which is why I can't deal a ton of damage. So I have to keep my distance in order to use this effectively. Normally you would do more damage with your basic attacks, but with so many bosses here, I have to go back, then use an attack and perform the Hyaku thing, you know? And then I use, or I could also use the Devour. Let's see, that was one. I have more here. Let me just check my phone for the pictures. So let's see. I have also the mixed builds, but we have 2 more green because green is just that good. For this one, we're gonna change to Astaroth. Dark Sun Astaroth is a good option, especially on VR, because you're going to debuff the enemy on VR. This synergizes exactly with Annerose because she's a suppressed type character. And let's say that we are in a stage on single content when you don't have anyone else. So what do you want to use? You want to use Madosen still to get HP recovery, but we're gonna change to Devour, not because we want the HP recovery, but because we want the debuff, and we're gonna change to Divine Wrath because on green it also debuffs. I am not very good at using Divine Wrath. I don't like it, but that's a me thing. Even so, it is not a bad skill. It's just awkward sometimes, depending on how you play and the skills, how you want to proc it. It has a short cooldown, but I mean, you have to finish an attack, and that's what makes it weird. Like that. Another important thing to keep in mind is that the damage increase on Dark Sun Astaroth is on basic attacks when the enemy is debuff. So keep that in mind. You're not going to increase your skill damage with Dark Sun Astaroth. Yes. Unfortunately, that's what happens. Oh, they interrupted me. No. Okay. They're not going to kill me because I have the HP recovery to just do this. But it is pretty annoying, you know? And also, you can use the active on Dark Sun Astaroth to gain super armor. That's another reason why she's pretty good on Annerose. So if they are constantly interrupting you, just use the active so that you can finish your basic attacks. There we go. So that's the other green, and we have one more green. This one is going to be with the melee supporters to show a more F2P friendly build. And I think I'm gonna change Astaroth. Yeah, this one you can change it. You can put Astaroth. You can put let's see. I'm gonna put Ingrid. But what else you can use on this build? You can use like whatever. You can use Suruga. Wait a moment. I don't have Yaksha, so I don't want to use Crit. You can put Suruga. You can put Devour. If you have troubles with HP, you can actually use Nanami, even though she already has good amount of HP recovery. You can also use Saika because she is a generic damage increase on skills. You can use, depending on which stage you're facing. No, because it has most benefits on humans. When below, increase fortitude. No, you can use this one. Even if it's not on the main slot, you can use this. You can use the 3 founding. No. Yeah, but that's about it. Those are the characters that you can use. You can also use these two. Probably Tokiko is the best among them, but this one is not that bad. But the important thing about using Kanade on the main is that you want the debuff immunity. So yeah, let's test her with Ingrid. Ingrid is also good because it gives you a damage increase because of the area that she generates, and she's going to reduce the damage taken. That's why I use her. But you can use other kind of defensive supporter. So for this one, we're gonna use Fang Strike to increase my speed. I didn't check the weapon, but I'm still using this one. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna use what else? Devour and Mados, and so I changed this one for Devour. So HP recovery and speed increase. So yeah, most of your damage, actually all of your damage is melee if I'm not mistaken. Madosen, Fang Strike, Devour. Yeah, that's why we're using this build. Fortunately, Devour is not range. Annerose. Ouch! Ow! I had my controller connected. Ow! And I pull it and I. It was weird. Well, whatever. So, fortunately, most of her skills are melee, even though she has. There are three: the counter, the all red, and the all blue are range attacks. So be careful on those builds. Fortunately, the green build is the one that has more melee supporters. But you want to keep that in mind so that if you're using those skills, you use whatever you can that increases all damage rather than a specific kind of damage. Speed. Even though I cannot finish my basic attacks, that's fine. Now I can finish my basic attacks. Yes. Ah. Wait, let me... There. They're not going to kill me, ever. She has just enough HP recovery or damage, depending on the build that you're doing. And besides, my level is just max, so they cannot. Even if they tried really hard. Well, there we go. Let's see. Which other build? I think this is the last all green. Let me check the other one. This one. Oh, for this one, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put... No, this has the butterfly. I'm going to put this, and I'm going to move it from here because the Magatamas and the weapon are already equipped properly. I'm going to use the butterfly weapon because I'm going to use an invincibility supporter that synergizes perfectly with the butterfly weapon because you keep your stacks, okay? So keep that in mind. If you use the butterfly weapon, using an invincibility supporter is probably a good idea. And for this, I'm going to go defensive mix. So I use Akina and I use... I'm gonna use Onisaki Kiraru to get more damage. But you can use the trait supporters, the specific trait supporters. You can use Sakuya, yes. Let me check. Do I use... No, I don't use Yaksha, so you cannot use Kana. You can use, depending on what you're tackling, maybe Arabella, yes, it would be an option. But that's about it for the options that you have on the defensive side with this kind of build. So, I'm gonna go with this. And skills. I'm gonna use Fang Strike, yes. I'm gonna use, this is Divine Wrath. And I'm going to use Madosen. Madosen is a skill that we can use thanks to the speed reduction and the fact that it procs on 2 supporters. It is our main way to deal damage along with Divine Wrath. Fang Strike is more for the damage increase. It is a buffing skill after all. And we don't have means of HP recovery on the skills. That's why we're using 3 defensive supporters. 1 with invincibility, 1 with HP recovery on hit, 1 with consistent HP recovery. Yeah, restores HP every 10 seconds. So that's why we go with this specific build. I do not recommend that you change Onisaki Kirara on this one. You want the consistent regen, but if you don't have any option, you can do it. You can change it for Sakuya. Let's see. So this has a pinch of control and some damage combined with your defensive capabilities. I am pretty bad at activating that skill, remember. But every time you see the glow or darkness, I guess, you should use it. Okay, there we go. We finished with the mobs. Now the interesting part. You don't want to use the invincibility immediately. You want to wait a little bit. The idea is that you proc your HP recovery and then you activate it. For example, now is a good time. And why do I recommend Spica with this weapon? Because you keep your stacks, as you can see. There. So I have already dealt a good amount of damage. I keep controlling the enemy constantly. And I maybe can proc one more time Spica. Yeah, definitely I can. If I need it. I don't know if I will. No, I can. Literally I can, but I don't need to. Okay, so... Oh! Okay, you want Spica? Take a Spica. So that's it for that build. Let's see, what other builds do we have? Yeah, this is the last one. And this one, I'm also going to use the butterfly weapon for this one. It's going to be... Wait. There. It says Fang Strike, yes. Madosen, yes. And what's this? I cannot read. Yaksha. Yakshan Bound. Definitely Yakshan Bound. We're gonna use a mixed build, but we're gonna use it with... Where is she? Dancer Shizuru. This is probably the best build for Yakshan Bound. We're using Dancer Shizuru to increase the duration of the buff. And we're gonna use Kowaru and Suruga. So it is a crit build that focuses on the buff. So what do? Again, you can use any combination thanks to the long duration now with this. Both Fang Strike and then Yakshan Bound, or Yakshan Bound, Fang Strike. And to finish off Madosen. Madosen, we're using on this because, number one, it procs its effect. It's a means of HP recovery and deals damage. It is our main damage dealing skill. But you could substitute it if you wanted for this one, for Hyakuretsu. Because you only gain critical rate, which is an effect you can just omit. You don't need it, especially with the amount of critical rate that we're receiving on this build. So depending on what you want to do, you can use any of these two. You could also go for the basic enhancer, but not on this stage. Definitely not. You know how I get interrupted, and Annerose is not getting super armor. So yeah, let's test her. Fast, dealing a ton of damage with enormous critical damage thanks to the weapon. But the problem of the weapon is that you have to evade. That's the one thing that I don't like. It can go very high, the damage, but constantly evading the enemy, that's something I don't like. I wish there was some way to protect your buffs from being removed. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait. I do this, I hit, and now I use my dozen, and there, that's a combo. And you see the duration of this buff? It's amazing. That's why I use this build. The red Dancer Shizuru along with 2 green is probably the best way to use Yaksha Unbound. Unfortunately, yes, Dancer Shizuru is limited. But you should strive to get it because of the weapon in that banner. And another good thing, I mentioned that you can change Madosen. And it's especially okay to do so because you have Dancer Shizuru to protect your HP. I do this, and just because I want to. Okay, nice. I'm gonna do like 2 more runs, but this time are gonna be on Taima 5 BR. I haven't tested this one. This is the tanky Annerose. So yeah, it's this one. So on BR, what are we going to do? Our main damage dealer is Astaroth. As usual, she has the weapon 5 out of 5 plus 15, Magatamas, Serpent Blaze, Satellite Flare, Fire Wave. The supporters all out 5 out of 5. Let's see. Then usually I go with tanky Felicia, but since Annerose is going to be the tank, we're gonna change that. She has Anti-Demon Magatamas, whatever Magatamas, 5 out of 5. Let's see. Vampiric Zone, Evil Strange, Bloodside. HP recovery on all of this. And most importantly, HP recovery for Astaroth on these 2. Since... wait a moment. Okay. Yeah, since I removed Sakuya from her supporter list, I'm going to be using Felicia to get the damage increase. Felicia, if you have it 5 out of 5, it is a better option for damage than Arabella. I'm using Onisaki Kirara to get HP recovery and damage. And I'm using Yanagi Yuna. Usually I put... Ingrid, corporate Ingrid. Where is she? Here she is. I use corporate warrior Ingrid because of the damage increase on the active, but I want more defenses because I'm going with a damage build. And now, the really important part, Annerose. What are we going to do with Annerose? She's going to go full defensive, and she has Anti-Demon Magatamas. So I'm not going to use this weapon, I'm going to use the arena weapon, because this is going to affect her performance thanks to the speed increase. So we're going to use Devour for the HP recovery, we're going to use Fang Strike for the defense increase, and Jackson Bound for the defense increase. That's what we're doing. We're going full defensive. Another important thing, we're gonna get part of our HP recovery with Akina. If you want, you can change Sakuya for Onisaki Kirara, Blackbeard Onisaki Kirara, which is here. But she's on Felicia right now. And I'm using Kana so that Annerose has damage. It's not like super big damage, but she has damage thanks to the buffs. And that's about it. She is meant to be a tank, and we're gonna test how good she is on standard farming. I do standard farming on step 41, you know it, so let's test her super quickly. Unfortunately, we shouldn't have any trouble about anyone dying thanks to Felicia. She can also be an extender for the debuff strategy on human VR against mass Taimanin, because she has what's the name? She can use Su, and thanks to the butterfly weapon, she can attack pretty fast. So that's a thing that you can do if you want. Unfortunately, she cannot get extra speed because of using Su on the main with her skills. But it is good enough, just having the speed of the weapon. And you can go mix, or you can go what's the name? Full blue. But I do recommend mix using other supporters which increase damage, because you want her to be your main damage dealer with her basic attacks, while she keeps the buffs up with Witch Soon. She wants to deal a lot of damage, because she doesn't have too much utility by herself. She can act as a utility supporter, but that's not her main role usually. She's gonna be a main damage dealer for the most part, and as you can see, she can be a tank. She's just distracting the Queen Arachne, while the other two characters deal damage. And I can use the active of Kana to also gain more defense. That's a thing. But I use it as a means to increase my damage. So yeah, of course I'm having trouble because my damage is not that good. And when I say I'm having trouble, I mean with the timer. Because my Murasaki, which usually covers this role, is way better. So now I'm going to do the following. I'm going to put the main team that I use, but I'm going to substitute Astaroth with Annerose. This is the other build that you want to use on VR. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this because I want to go with all her strength, and for that I need more speed. So, oddly enough, these Magatamas are not the best for her because this is for ranged damage. So, all anti-demon. And now, human, machine, and whatever. So, we're gonna go with the green build for VR. The green build for VR is exactly the build that Astaroth has. Since I have means to debuff the enemy, I'm going to use this one. And I mean, when we have one boss, especially one that is slow when attacking like Queen Arachne, you don't need that specific supporter. And especially with Queen Arachne, you're not going to get the benefit of the debuffs constantly. So I might change it. Let's see. I'm not going to crit, so I'm not going to use a crit supporter. Let me think. I want melee damage. Generic, easy to use melee damage. Okay, so for this one, Action Bound, Devour, no. We're gonna use Madosen. And this one, definitely. I want the Super Armor just in case. So yeah, you can change it for the basic enhancer, that's fine. Or for Fang Strike, if you want, but the damage is not good enough in my opinion. So yeah, let's go with the green for BR. And we're gonna do also the red for BR. As I mentioned, she plays very differently when facing only one enemy, which doesn't overwhelm her. Because if the enemy is super fast, yes, she's gonna be... Oh, come on. I have a problem here. I have a really big problem. So the problem is that she has cooldown increase on attack. So I have to be wary of that, which I don't like, but whatever. Here we go. If you take like a whole minute to actually... Wait a moment. Did all the skills... Did I keep Jackson bound? Didn't I change it? If you take like a whole minute to defeat... to defeat an enemy, the first part of the enemy, you're on trouble. On Queen Arachne. Because you're gonna take like a whole minute in each one, and that means that you are out of time because you also have to take into consideration this. So that's why you don't want to be too slow on Queen Arachne, because you have to beat her 3 times. Depending on what level you are, but you want to beat her 3 times. So you want to use the active and you want to use everything at your disposal. Maybe I should have gone for critical. I'm going to use the ulti, which I never use, but in this case... Yeah, I'm not going to defeat Queen Arachne, it seems. But, I mean, it is not that it doesn't work, it is just that I don't have the damage right now. And that's mainly because of the effect. As you see, I have the red damage reduction, which means my Annerose is not dealing full damage. She can beat this stage, but I was unlucky. And that's the thing. No, definitely I'm not beating it. So I'm gonna try it one more time. Very quickly. I'll have to use... Hey, what happened with the... I used them. Yeah, I used to have some of the supplies, but I remember now that I used them, and I didn't receive any supplies now that I redeem the BP on the factory. So yeah, now I can defeat this one. Action bound, even if you don't get the critical rate, it is... You don't get to crit. It is a very good skill because you get the attack buff. So don't be too rough with it, saying, why do you use critical Action bound on this stage? It is not optimal. Well, it is very easy to proc, number one, and it has a damage increase. That's about it. And as you can see, this one, I can actually beat her. Maybe, maybe I need to go faster. Gotta go fast. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Enemies. Let's see if I can beat her now. Well, I think I can. It looks promising. Okay, I'm not gonna wait to use this one. Come on. Yeah, maybe I have a chance. Just maybe. I mean, if you want to use this more effectively, you just have to reduce the difficulty. Yeah, it is unfortunate that I don't have enough damage. Annerose really needs more weapons, but they have probably they haven't released her limited character pack due to the whole controversy, in my opinion. It is not like guaranteed, but that's what I think. And I do hope that they Grimoire release it sometime in the future, because I do want her to be stronger. I do want her to get buff and such. And I don't know, maybe they can release her with gems when they do so? I don't know. Maybe, please, Grimoire, think on it. Yeah. So as you can see, she can do these stages, but she is lacking in the damage department because she's very crit focused. So that's one thing to take into consideration. Let's see. To finish, we're gonna test the red one. This focuses on critical damage, so let's see what happens. I'm gonna use the action bound, no doubt about it. And I'm going to use... No, I don't know, I don't know. Yeah, I need the damage increase. So what is going to be the combination? Since I really need to crit on a stage when I'm not going to crit, I'm going to go for absolute crit rate. So, extended duration on Jackson Bound, critical rate and more HP, and now I need the damage. For the damage, I'm going to go for... Where is she? She's up, I'm sure. Where are you? Barretta, there we are. Here we have it. So this is gonna be the build. I'm gonna keep the critical damage up with the weapon and speed. I'm going to use damage increase, all the buffs, and the main damaging skill. Let's see if I can crit on VR. Ha, that's gonna be amazing. I mean, the build is meant for that. Unfortunately, I don't have a damage reduction here, so... There. Oh! Do beat the spiders first, so that they don't interrupt you. I don't see any kind of crit right now. Oh yeah, a couple crits. Yes, nice. Yeah, it works. It works, guys. Nice. Come on. There. Excellent. It does work. But remember, it is not guaranteed. In fact, it's easier than with green. God. Unbelievable. Yeah, so you can actually crit here on BR, yes, but you would need to go for critical rate, either supporter, Magatamas, but you're losing damage. That's why nobody goes with crit builds for BR. Oh no, I use the skill? I don't know. Reposition myself, continue. And, oh! Dumb spiders. Okay. Delete, 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 delete. And now I can do my thing. Yeah, do it when you have Jackson bound, as you can see. Fortunately, if I were to die, I could easily... I can use it now just to deal damage, and... if I were to die, I could easily use the active on Dancer Shizuru just to get the HP back. Especially with the... what's the name? The poison. That's usually what kills the enemies, or is it bleed? I don't know, but that thing. Come on, come on, come on. Attack, yes! I do this, and... yeah. Astaroth is just too strong, in my opinion. God. When I compare it to main damage dealer Annerose. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. There. And that's also why I don't use characters that button mash, because I don't want to button mash anymore. If I farm daily, it is kind of extenuating, I guess. So yeah, very quickly, let's check what Annerose has in store here. No, collection. Let's see, very quickly, the ones that I'm missing. Not useful for her, not useful for her, nope. Nope. I mean, she is a fast attacker if you have the weapon, but you don't want to use this one. Not the right color. Generic good if you're fighting against humans. Cannot use this one. This one you can use. This one you can use. Chikage. And... Sayaneo. Sayaneo does work with her. I mean, I think she would be one of the best supporters you can use with her. But I don't have Sayaneo, unfortunately. This one... she can pull it up because she's fast with the weapon, but I do not recommend. And the same goes for this. Now, what really matters, the weapons. Annerose. So, what you see here are Asagi's weapons, because she's one of the characters who shares weapons. So, the mileage weapon is always busted, This one is not going to do anything. It's a beat stick, because it only procs on Asagi. This one does work, the particle weapon, but as I mentioned, snake weapons are very used on ranged characters. They are kind of weak, but the active works well for ranged characters. Let's see. This one, it says increase normal attacks damage against snared enemies by 15%. Normal attacks deals 24% damage against random enemies. So for this one, if you ever get it, it is acceptable on BR if you're going for a snare. But that's about it. If you're using Eleanor as your partner, yes, it is a good weapon. But I wouldn't recommend it or go for it in most cases. This one, no. This one is another one that is only for Asagi. The effect is on Asagi, so that's a basic for her. This one is good. It is one of the best weapons for her. The speed increase really helps out. And the increased critical damage, it's excellent for Annerose because it synergizes with the action bound. Let's see. Arena weapons, you know. The bad weapon we never use. I mean, she has means to get the stacks easily thanks to Divine Wrath, but that's about it. Because the bad thing about Divine Wrath is that you have to do it at the end of an attack. So even so, it's not going to be that fast. So it doesn't work. It never works. The not fishing pole, okay, it is just like the snake weapon. It doesn't give much value unless you're going for an ulti build, or you change your weapons, which that's something people don't do. Um, the Momochi weapon is generally good if you're going for crit, which is probably very good on Annerose. As you can see, she can even crit on VR. Not consistently, but she can. She just crits on the skill once you do Yakshan Bound with the axe. Let's see. This one. This is the weapon that came on her event and also with her pack. It says increases basic attack damage by 5%, that goes up to 10%, for 7 seconds when using skills. Stack up to 3 times. That's pretty bad. I like the damage increase, but the damage increase is for basic attacks, which you're going to use after the skill. Yes, when you have your skills on cooldown, you use your basic attacks, correct? But I mean, no, the damage is just 30% at most. It is just too little in my opinion. And it easily goes away. Even though the duration is not short, it isn't long either. So you would have to do a skill, attack, do a skill, attack, do a skill, attack, so that you keep the stacks up. And I think most situations in the game won't allow you to do it. The active says slashes the enemy quickly, dealing damage, and removes one buff from the target at a 50% chance. Oh. 4 particles. Oh, if it was 3, I would consider it, but no. With a 50% chance, no, it should be guaranteed. What a shame. But the skin is very cool. Look at it. It's nice. Then we have the event weapon that says Demon Enslaver, which says reduce the cooldown time of Rim Axe by 2 seconds, which is appreciated, but if I'm not mistaken, the stats of this weapon are not good at all. It is kind of a snake weapon stats, so no. Increases damage dealt by ultimate. I mean, this would be very nice if it had, I don't know, maybe particle charge increase, maybe, but it doesn't. Increase damage against super armor by 15%. That's good. That's actually good. It's generic good. Most difficult enemies have super armor. So, is it a good weapon? Not really. Mainly because of the stats. If it has standard stats, it would be good. Look, a weapon with standard stats. 520, 600. And this is 400, 500. Barely those. So it is too weak. Grammar, you should have given us a better weapon. This is the Asagi weapon. So another beat stick for her. This one. I haven't redeemed these, I have the tickets for any of the 3. I'm still debating on which one is the best. So, increases damage dealt with ultimate by 25%. Generic good. I mean, the problem is that usually we don't focus our builds on the ultimate. It's just like an added benefit to have the ultimate. When HP is under 20%, goes into Berserk mode for 10 seconds. Berserk increases speed by 8%, increases damage dealt to all enemies by 8%, and damage taken from all enemies by 8%. So it is just that it says Berserk. Heals 20% of the lost HP when the Berserker mode ends. Activates every 25 seconds. I mean, it would be an acceptable weapon if this was like 70%. when you're under 20% and you're gonna last enough to actually do the are you gonna last 10 seconds to actually get the HP recovery? Is that it? No. I mean, with Annerose you do have ways to recover HP. So even if you control that, it is very risky to allow yourself to go under 20. So you don't want that. Definitely not. A shame. It is an interesting concept, but a bad proc requirement. This one is another Beastic because it's Asagi's weapon. And that's about it for the weapons. So let's just finish with the evaluation of the character. So, is she really worth paying for? I mean, that's subjective. It depends. Do you like the character? Do you like the game style? She does have weaknesses, as you can see. When you're facing multiple bosses, she's particularly weak to getting interrupted on her basic attacks. You can rely on the skills, yes. The basic enhancer doesn't give super armor to the whole combo, that is bad. Madosen only gives 10% speed reduction, that's very poor. If it was 20 it would be better. Let's see other notable things. These skills are PvP focused for the most part. I would like that it was given more utility for PvE too, the other two colors. The red one is barely acceptable. I mean, because it deals damage. It's not like a huge amount of damage, but it's an amount that you can take it into account. I don't like Divine Rat, but that's a thing of me, and that's a me thing, and yeah, that's about it. She has few flaws, but she's pretty good for the most part. She can clear content easily thanks to her 2 HP recovery skills. If you go green, she has consistent HP recovery thanks to Devour. Even though it has a long duration, you can recover a ton of HP if you use it with Jackson Bound. So yeah, maybe you do want this character. Another thing, you get more value out of this character if you have the Kahahirako. So that's a thing. What else? Supporters. You get more value if you have Dancer Shizuru. It pairs well with Invincibility supporters. Keep that in mind if you want to use it. And if your account is focused around blue supporters, which probably is not, but I mean, it is not her best color. Her best color are green and red. Both are pretty good. So keep those things in mind. She is good for challenging content, but I think she needs a buff. And I mean, in regards to her damage, if she's not critting, she's not dealing damage, or at least enough damage. You saw that on VR, on my VR runs. She can perform, yes, but I'm using the kind of build that I use on other characters for VR and are able to farm properly, and she was having trouble with that. So yeah, she's too centered around crit. If you like that, then if you have crit Megatemas, that's also good for this character. But if not, if you don't have crit focus supporters and Megatemas, then maybe you don't want this one. So yeah, Gremory, give her limited pack and buff her. Give her more damage, please. She needs it. And well, that's about it for today, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!